fantasy football season. And here's a few tight ends I would start this week. The first guy, Ricky Seals-Jones of the Washington football team. So Ricky Seals-Jones, he was a breakout guy the last couple weeks for this football team, and a hot waiver wire ad. Like I mentioned, he should be coming into week 7. So Ricky Seals-Jones, the last few weeks since he filled in for Logan Thomas, who was out with the injury, 5 catches, 41 yards in week 5 versus the Saints. In week 6 versus former team, the Kansas City Chiefs, 4 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. So right here, week 7, a pretty decent matchup at the Green Bay Packers. And this is a ball game where the Washington football team, in my opinion, are going to be trailing early and often, and where they're going to have to throw the football a ton in this one. So I think Ricky Seals-Jones, he's a big target, no doubt about it. 6'6", 6'7", and I think once again here, he's going to find the end zone in this ball game at Green Bay with 40 or 50 yards, and he's a tight end I would start this week. The next tight end's Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons. So Kyle Pitts, the first 4 weeks of the season, got off to a horrific start, but week 5 versus the New York Jets, he turned it all around with a 9-catch, 119-yard receiving day with a touchdown. Week 6, Falcons went on by, and this week, week 7 here at the Miami Dolphins, a pretty decent matchup. The Dolphins give up the 17th most fantasy points to tight ends. So I think Kyle Pitts here, he could take advantage of some of those linebackers and safeties, and him and Matt Ryan are starting to build a rapport over there in Atlanta. And this is a big game for Atlanta, in my opinion. If they could get to 3-3 here, that's not bad after starting off 1-3, obviously, this season. So right here, Miami's defense isn't as good as it was last season, no doubt about that. And I just think Kyle Pitts, he's getting used to the NFL game this season as the rookie. And I think in this week here, week 7 at Miami, he has another good game, and he's a tight end to start. The next tight end I would start this week, we're staying in the same game, is Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins. So Mike Gesicki, he's pretty much turned into almost an every week starter, especially with the buys in a weak tight end position this season. And last week with Tua's return, he didn't miss a beat with a huge ball game in London versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. 8 catches on 115 yards. And right here, week 7 versus Atlanta. Atlanta, they've been pretty decent versus tight ends this season, giving up only the 19th most fantasy points to tight ends. But I think Gesicki could find a few holes in that defense. And like I mentioned, Tua likes him as a security blanket and a guy to target in this offense over here. So I think Gesicki in this ball game could get 6 or 7 catches for maybe 60 or 70 yards and be a great PPR option in position. The next tight end I would start is Tyler Higbee of the Los Angeles Rams. So Tyler Higbee, the last couple weeks now, I've recommended him as a start, and he's starting to produce some decent fantasy days in PPR leagues. The last 2 weeks for him, week 5 at Seattle, 2 catches, 14 yards, and a touchdown. In week 6 at the Giants, 5 catches, 36 yards. So right here in week 7, he's got a pretty decent matchup versus the Detroit Lions, where this Lion team, obviously, we know they give up a lot of points on the board, and they're one of the worst teams in the league. So I think Matthew Stafford versus former team is going to have a touchdown party, and I think Tyler Higbee's going to catch one of those in this game, and he's a tight end I would start, and the 5th and final tight end I would start this week. Zach Ertz of the Arizona Cardinals. So the newest Cardinal in town now is Zach Ertz, and he's going to fit this offense, in my opinion, like a glove here in this ball game with Zach Ertz. So Zach Ertz, he was doing pretty decent this season with Philly, but Philly obviously has the up-and-coming tight end in Dallas Goedert, and now the reins will go to Goddard over there. And Zach Ertz, for months and years, we've been hearing he's going to be on the trade block, and that finally came to fruition in week 6. So right here in week 7, it's a good matchup versus the Houston Texans that give up the 3rd most fantasy points to tight ends. And now with Max Williams out for the season, it was a hole that the Cardinals wanted to fill, and Zach Ertz is a good fit in my opinion. So right here, he's not going to play a lot of snaps, obviously, in his first game, not knowing the playbook and getting used to Kyler Murray and his teammates. But I still think Ertz could do some damage and possibly find the end zone in this one on a limited snap count. So that's a few tight ends I would start here in week 7 of the fantasy football season.